So Hare Krishna. Before I start, I'd like to recite this one verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Actually, it's from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter 17, verse 88. And it goes, Mukham karoti vachalam, Fangam lagate giriyam, Yat kripatam aham vande, Paramanandan Madhavam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has the form of Satchitananda, Vigraha, transcendental bliss, knowledge, and eternity. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him who turns the dumb into eloquent speakers and enables the lame to cross over mountains. Such is the mercy of the Lord. This verse is actually from Sridhar Swami's commentary of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is known as the Bharavat Dipaka. So actually, when we were reciting these invocation prayers, we actually were saying some verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam. And I looked them up and I posted them here. So when we said the Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Udiyaret. So it's Narayan, the personality of Godhead. Namakrita, after offering a respectful obeisances. Namachayeva, the Nara Rishi. Nara Uttama, the supreme being. Devam, goddess. Saraswatim, the mistress of learning. Vyasam, Vyasdev. Tata, thereafter. Jayam, all that's meant for conquering and be announced. So the translation. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the Supreme, unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto the Narayan Rishi, the supermost being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vasudev. And then we went to say, Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhaktara Uttama Shloke Bhaktar Bhavati Neshtaki. By regular attendance in classes of the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart and is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. And then we said, Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Let me therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto the Lord, who has become the son of Vasudeva, the pleasure of Devaki, the boy of Nanda and the other cowherd men of Vrindavan, and the enlivener of the cows and the senses. So I'm actually going to be talking about this verse throughout the whole time. And now to just give a little brief talk about the Srimad Bhagavatam. I guess we have some trouble over here. You can maybe look at that. It's just a picture I'm flashing up there. So the Srimad Bhagavatam, this is the first canto. And Vyasadeva had compiled all the Vedic literatures. So he compiled the 4 Vedas, the Vedanta Sutra or the Brahma Sutra, the Puranas and the Mahabharata. Yet he wasn't satisfied. This satisfaction was observed by his spiritual master, Narada. So Narada went to him at Badrinath, and he told him to write about Sri Krishna. So the Srimad Bhagavatam gives the actual meaning of the Vedanta Sutra. The portrait of the Vedanta Sutra is very hard to understand. And Vyasadeva understood this, so out of his causeless mercy, he decided to explain it. And so it was thought that if the Vedanta Sutra was explained by Vyasadeva himself, the author who wrote the Vedanta Sutra, that it could be explained properly so that anybody, like the general masses, could understand it. So then the meaning of the Vedanta Sutra is presented in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and the full purport of the Mahabharata is there. So you don't have to even read the Mahabharata, you can just read the Srimad Bhagavatam. And also the purport of the Brahma Gayatri. If you want to understand what the Gayatri mantra is, it's all in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's given there. And the whole purport of all the Vedic knowledge. So the Vedas is basically considered all that's knowledgeable. I mean, you have some knowledge that doesn't is any useless, like how many spots there are on a basketball. That knowledge is completely useless. But there's some knowledge that will actually save you from so much misery and from even the cycle of birth and death. So this important knowledge was all stored in the Vedas. And then to summarize it even further, Brahma absorbed all the Vedas, and he meditated on it a long time, and then he gave the Brahma Sutra, and Vyasadeva wrote it down. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's 12 cantos and 335 chapters and 18,000 verses. So in the very beginning, the first verse, the meaning of the sound vibration Omkar is present. And it's elaborately explained in the 4 shlokas of the Srimad Bhagavatam known as the Chatur. So it said that whatever Brahma told Narad Muni was explained then to Narad Muni, was then explained to Vyasadeva. And Vyasadeva considered all these instructions. And so Vyasadeva collected all the Vedic conclusions of the 4 Vedas. He studied all the 108 Upanishads, and he placed all the truths in this Vedanta Sutra. And then to even explain the Vedanta Sutra further, he gave the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is vividly explaining in 18,000 shlokas the Vedanta Sutra. So everything animated and inanimated that's within this universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. And one should therefore accept only things for himself that is set aside in his quota. And one should not accept things knowing very well to whom that they belong. And this is basically the essence of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Our relationship with the Supreme Lord, our activities in connection with the Lord, and the goal of life. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that these 3 important categories is how you can categorize all Vedic knowledge. And that's in Sambandha, which is our relationship, like I am the spirit soul, all knowledge about Krishna, our relationship, the different rasas, what all this material creation is, the cycle of birth and death, that all fits into some Sambandha Gyan. And the activities, like how we did Arti, we did Kirtan, how we were doing they offered all these, they made so much bhoga, and then we're going to offer the food, and then we're going to eat the remnants. So that's known as Abhideya. And then the last thing, the goal is the supreme goal of life, and that's the ultimate goal. So anything about Golok Vrindavan, anything about Radha and Krishna, or their Gopa friends, or about Vrindavan, or about Mathura, all that information, that's put into Prayojana. So I'm actually going to talk about one pastime in particular, and that's the birth of Sri Krishna. Because the Srimad Bhagavatam is very... It's a genius book because it's designed to dispel all arguments. And so when you start in the very beginning, it slowly introduces you to who's God and how he reacts with other people. So then you start to get a feel of how Krishna is. You start to get to feel that he's not about material things. He doesn't care about pride. He doesn't care about ego. He doesn't care about how good you are. He doesn't care about any of those things. He actually cares about the people. He cares about the souls, and he cares about love. That's actually what he's mostly focusing upon. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is a progression of deeper and purer love of Godhead. Each Leela, as we go through the cantos, they go into a different, more pure form. That the people in the beginning first had some sort of material desires. They had some sort of, that they came to God because they wanted something. They wanted good health. They wanted, more money. They wanted something. But as we go further and further along, it shows that as people start interacting with God and they start reciprocating, they start to realize that he's actually very sweet. He's actually very, very beautiful. And everything that he does is so sweet and so beautiful that they don't need anything else. That when he comes, they totally forget about everything else. And that even if they wanted something, that he's so beautiful that it just blows their mind and they can't even think about anything else. So like this, each Leela is developing the consciousness deeper and deeper into pure love. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that his appearance, birth, and activities, all these transcendental activities, if anybody understands them, they immediately become eligible to be transferred to the spiritual world. So just by understanding, just by hearing them, even if you don't even understand, just by hearing them, you will be eligible to go to the spiritual world and to get out of the cycle of birth and death. So the Lord's appearance and birth is not like any other ordinary man, which is forced to take material body according to his past deeds. We all have some sort of karma, and we all have some sort of desires. And so to fulfill those desires, Kṛṣṇa gives us a body that's suitable for those desires. Like if you want to eat meat and you want to harm others, Kṛṣṇa will give you like a body like a tiger. So you can actually enjoy that. You can enjoy that and try to understand what it is to be in that position. But Kṛṣṇa is not like that. Kṛṣṇa doesn't have any karma. He takes birth just out of his own sweet pleasure. It's like the whole creation is just made for his fun. And we're just kind of just like for his enjoyment. So at the time of Kṛṣṇa's birth, all the planet systems, they automatically became adjusted to auspiciousness. Everything in all the directions, east, west, south, north, everything, the atmosphere was so peaceful and so prosperous. The stars were visible in the sky. It was illuminating the whole night sky. It was like a beautiful canopy that was lit up. And the surface, on all the towns of the villages, the pasturing grounds, and even the minds of everyone, they were full of all good fortune, all auspicious signs. The trees were just giving fruits. The rivers were overflowing. The grass was abundant. The cows were giving so much milk that they were just pouring the milk onto the floor, and all the ground was getting soft with the milk, and it was creating a lot of mud. And so like this, the rivers were flowing full of water. The lakes were so beautifully decorated. The forests were full of birds and the peacocks. All these descriptions are given in the Srimad Bhagavatam, so that's why I'm retelling them. It's a nice way to like meditate. We can actually go into that Leela, and we can actually go there in your mind. Kṛṣṇa has given this special power. That's why we hear these books. So that when you start meditating on there, Kṛṣṇa will start acting those Leelas in your heart, in your mind, and you can start experiencing those Leelas. So like these forests was full of birds and peacocks, and they were chirping. And the wind was blowing pleasantly, and they were carrying the aroma of all these different flowers. And it was very, very pleasing. And so the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he appeared as Vishnu. He first appeared as Vishnu, as we see. He came out, and then he showed him that he was actually Vishnu. And he did this so that his mother and father could understand that their son was now the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because they were in jail for so long. Kṛṣṇa was born in a jail. He appeared in a jail. It's very sad. If you could imagine, if you had your own child in jail, if your pregnancy, how tough that was. And to be pregnant, Devaki was pregnant 6 times. She had 6 miscarriages. And Baladev came, and Baladev got transferred. It just appeared that he had a miscarriage. And it was all in jail. So you can just try to understand how much pain Devaki was going through. And so Kṛṣṇa did this out of his sweetness. He showed them that he's actually he's Vishnu, and that he's here to kill Kamsa. So there's no longer to be afraid, and that he's going to go to the house of Nanda Maharaj. So Mother Devaki, she's fully transcendental. She's Satchitananda. She does not belong to this material world. So thus, the Godhead, Kṛṣṇa appeared with 4 hands, and he was born in her womb. And upon seeing that Vishnu form, Vasudeva was struck with wonder. And so they started. They were in jail, and when someone's born, you give a lot of charity. You give a lot of things in charity. So mentally, they gave 10,000 cows in charity. And it said that even if you do anything in your mind, you still get the benefit. So that even though she was in jail and that they didn't have all these cows, but still they could do it in their mind. So like this, even if you don't have money, and even if you don't have deities, but you still want to worship Kṛṣṇa, you can create an altar in your mind, and you can go to Vrindavan, and on a throne, on a jeweled throne, you can worship Radha and Krishna with all the as all the gopas and gopis do. And this is said that you actually do get the benefit. It's just the same as if you were physically doing it. So this is very beautiful. And then Vasudeva, he starts giving all kinds of prayers to Krishna, and that he knows that it's Vishnu. So his prayers are in the mode of awe and reverence. He's saying, "Oh Krishna, Vishnu, you're so opulent. You have so many. You're so great. You're so powerful. You have so many things." And it goes on like this for a bit, and then Devaki starts following her husband, and she also starts praying, transcendental. She also starts giving prayers, and Krishna hears all this, and then Krishna starts speaking. And then this is when Krishna starts saying how the whole Srimad Bhagavatam is a progression. And because people don't remember their past lives, but Krishna, he remembers all your past lives. So he starts telling them who Devaki and Vasudeva were. So Krishna says, "My dear mother, in the millennium of Sarvabhuma Manu, my father Vyasdeva was living as the Prajapatis. His name at the time was Sutapa, and you were his wife named Prasini. And at that time when Lord Brahma was designed to increase the population, he requested you generate offspring. So you both controlled your senses and performed severe austerities. And by practicing breathing exercises, the yoga system, both you and your husband could tolerate all the influences of material laws. How you tolerated the rainy season, the onslaught of the wind, the scorching heat and the sunshine. You also executed all religious principles, and in this way you were able to cleanse your heart and control the influence of material laws. In executing your austerities, you used to eat only leaves of trees which fell on the ground. And then with a steady mind, you controlled your urges. You worshipped me, desiring some wonderful benediction from me. And both of you practiced all these severe austerities for 12,000 years by the calculations of the demigods. And during that time, your mind was always absorbed in me. And when you executed these devotional services, always thinking of me within your heart, I was very much pleased with you. O sinless mother, your heart is therefore always pure. And at that time, I appeared before you, and in this form, just to fulfill your desires, I asked you whatever you desired. And at that time, you wished to have me born as your son. Although you saw me personally, instead of asking me for complete liberation from this material bondage, under the influence of my energy, you asked to become my son. So in other words, the appearance of the material world in the Lord, Krishna selects his mother and father, and he namely selected Prashini and Sutapa, respectively. And when the Lord comes as a human being, he must have a mother and father to trick the atheist. So Krishna's he's God to everyone, and he's also God to the atheists. And even though these atheists, they deride him and see that he's not God, to fulfill their desire in their heart and to kind of to please them and to not make them have like a panic attack, he says that, okay, I'm not God, I'm like an atheist. And so that he appears to have a birth just like from a regular mother and father. And so he selects Prashini and Sutapa perpetually as their mother and father on this account. And neither Prashini or Sutapa could ask the Lord for liberation. Because Krishna was taking birth as their son, they didn't care for anything else. They literally didn't care. He was so beautiful. It was like the greatest entertainment. Krishna was always there. They were always, there was always something to do. There was always people coming. If anything goes wrong, they could just ask Krishna, and Krishna would take care of it. So they didn't need anything else. So in due course time, Prashini became pregnant, and she gave birth to a child. And the Lord spoke to Devaki and Vasudeva. At that time, my name was Kṛṣṇa-kathā. So this Kṛṣṇa-kathā, he's the Vishnu who appears before Dhruva Maharaj in Madhuvan. Dhruva Maharaj, he listens to Narad Muni, and Narad Muni tells him to go to Vrindavan. And there in Madhuvan, which is a very special place, we'll hear about that later on. But over there, he starts worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And there, this form that Kṛṣṇa and Sutapa gave, he appears before them. And then Kṛṣṇa goes on to say, in the next millennia, you took birth as Aditi and Kashyapa. So all the like Surya Dev, all of them came through Aditi and Kashyapa. And it was Kṛṣṇa and Sutapa who again took birth. And at that time, I came as Upendra. And at that Vishnu, he's very small. He appeared like a dwarf. So they call him Vamana Dev. So like this Vamana Dev, he also appeared through Devaki and Vasudeva. And so like this, it says that every time that Kṛṣṇa is appearing, so the first time when he appeared as Kṛṣṇa Garbha, he just appeared from their womb, and then he did dandavats to their parents, and then he left. So when Kṛṣṇa and Sutapa, they saw him, this is like when they first met Vishnu as their son, and they were like, oh wow, this is so beautiful. He's so beautiful. And Sutapa was saying to Kṛṣṇa, oh wow, what a good job you did. You created such a nice, beautiful son. And then so like this, they were increasing the joy of each other. And like this, so again, when Aditi and Kashyapa came, so now Vishnu came in even more forms, and so they had a little bit, if an even more deeper relationship. And then at the third time, he comes as Vasudeva and Devaki. So like this, it goes even deeper and deeper. And Sri Kavi Karnapurna Goswami, he wrote a classic book called Gora Gandesha Deepaka, in which it reveals who's who in the Leelas. Just like these people keep taking births, so it was decided that it was good to write it down so we can know who's who. And behind me, so we have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and when he came in the Leela, so Devaki and Vyasadeva and Mother Yashoda, they came again, and this time they came as Sachi Devi and Jagannath Mishra. So it said that Sachi Devi was the combined form of Yashoda Maya, Devaki, Kaushalya, Aditi, and Kṛṣṇa. So Kaushalya, that was the mom of Ramachandra. So again, like this Ramachandra and Dishta, he keeps taking birth to deepen their consciousness, so they keep having a Vatsalya bhav, this parental bhav. Kṛṣṇa keeps coming as their son, so they keep enjoying, and they keep going deeper and deeper each time. So, like this happened. And so then Kṛṣṇa says, no, I have to go to Gokul. So by the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva prepares to take his son from the delivery room at that exact time. And at that exact same time, with Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, so at a different, a girl was born. And it was actually Yogamaya, who is none other than Subhadra Devi. And soon we'll have a Rath Yatra, and we'll see Jagannath, which is Kṛṣṇa, and Baladev, his brother, and Subhadra Devi, which is their sister. So the sister, she was born to Yashoda and Nanda at the same time Kṛṣṇa appeared to Vasudeva and Devaki. And so this Yogamaya is the eternal potency of Lord. And it said that for everything that Kṛṣṇa, it's like a personality. Like his hands, they can also talk. They can also accept prasadam. They can also go somewhere. His feet can also talk. Kṛṣṇa is not like any other being, because he can do things from different parts of his body. It's not like any other body. So in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, so as Yogamaya was leaving Kamsa's place, all the doorkeepers, they became overwhelmed with sleep, and all the doors opened, and everything that was barred and shackled, all the chains just opened. And it was, at the time, it was very dark. But as soon as Vasudeva took Kṛṣṇa on his lap and went out, he could see everything just as the sun was shining. So in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it said that Kṛṣṇa is just like sunlight. And wherever Kṛṣṇa goes, the illusionary energy, which is compared to darkness, cannot remain. So when Vasudeva was carrying Kṛṣṇa, the darkness of night was dispelled, and all the prison doors automatically opened. So like that, and then Kṛṣṇa went into, Kṛṣṇa and Vyasadeva, they went into the Yamuna, and when the Yamuna was there, it was huge torrents were happening. So Vyasadeva had to have a lot of faith. I mean, because if you could just imagine taking a newborn baby into a raging stream at the dead of night. And not only that, a giant snake appeared, who was none other than Anantadev, but a giant snake was following behind them. So like this, they were going in the middle of the Yamuna, and the Yamuna was parting. So it said that Vyasadeva had a lot of faith to go over this one obstacle. And like this, he carried Kṛṣṇa all the way to Yashodhamaya. And it said that Yashodhamaya, when she was having, and all the gopis, when they were, she was delivering, it was very intense. And she got tired. She got very tired from the childbirth, and everyone fell asleep. So they fell asleep with the baby. Like the baby was born right away, and then it was so hectic. It was so stressful that everyone was like, "Oh, finally, the child was born. Oh, the child was born. So let's all just relax." And then they all just went and fell asleep. So no one even checked to check if the child was male or female. So no one knew if it was a male or female. And in the Adi Purana, it said that the wife of Nanda Maharaj was known by two names. She was known as by Vyasadeva and as Devaki. And because partly of this, Nanda Maharaj and Vyasadeva were very close friends. When they met, they introduced their wives. And so Vyasadeva said, "Oh, this is my wife, Devaki." And, Nanda Maharaj said, "Oh, this is my wife, Devaki." And so like, "Oh, your wife's name Devaki? Oh, my wife's name Devaki." So like this, they became, it was, they struck off a really close friendship like that. And in the purport of this, Prabhupada says that it's actually like they're like basically non-different, even though they were like the same personality. It was Kṛṣṇa treated them like they were non-different. Okay, so I guess you're gonna have to see on that picture. So this is we're gonna fast forward a little bit, and here you can see a map of Bloomington, and on the side we have a little bit. I put these little 2-mile markers. So here you see that the entire Bloomington fits into 8 miles by 8 square miles. So it's like 8 square miles by 8 square miles. And this Dwarka, if you see on this, I've made this square. Now this Dwarka that Kṛṣṇa created was 96 square miles long. And if you see, it's like if you go from Bloomington all the way to Lafayette in Indianapolis, and it's like if you go from there all the way up to Chicago. So in this square miles, Kṛṣṇa created this huge city. It's like the greatest city, and you can still visit it. The ruins are still there in Dwarka, in the Indian Ocean. They're finding more and more. They're finding more and more ruins there. So I'm just gonna. I guess they're making the prasadam soon. So I'm just gonna quickly wrap this up. I'll just quickly talk about some things about Dwarka. It's really interesting. So when Kṛṣṇa first constructed the walls, it was 96. He made the outer wall, and it was certain that no one else could create such a thing. So Kṛṣṇa had to import Vishwakarma. He's like the architect of the Devatas. So he brought him from the heavenly planets, and he told him to create this city. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it gives the description that it was the most well-constructed city in modern times. It was a modern marvel. It was developed within the sea. It had regular planned roads and streets and lanes. And there were also well-planned parks, gardens full of plants, known as kalpavrikshas. These were desire trees. They're not like ordinary trees. These trees can fulfill your desires. And they were imported from heaven. So like this, the city had huge gates. I don't know if you go to like Secunderabad, I don't know if you guys been there. You see these huge gates in these classic ancient Indian towns. You'll see like these huge gates every now and then. So like this, all these gates were all over, and they were huge skyscrapers. It gives a description that there were many floors, huge palaces, and that they also went underground. So in Dwarka, it was the first underwater buildings. The first underwater buildings were there. And it was, it's the most ornate. All the rooms were full of jewels. There were so many. Every place had a Vishnu deity. And it said that when Kṛṣṇa made the city, after the city was made, he brought everyone from Mathura, and he brought them there and he let them live. And he installed his brother, Baladev, as the mayor. So Baladev was going around. It's really interesting in Dwarka. Baladev would be going around. Oh, can I help you? How are the roads? He's like the mayor, so he would be going from. If he'd go from town to town, just like our mayor does, and he'd ask him how your roads, how your houses, and like that. Kṛṣṇa had 16,108 palaces, because he had 16,108 queens. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it said that Kṛṣṇa, from each one of those queens, he had 1 daughter and 10 sons. So Kṛṣṇa had 16,108 daughters in Dwarka, and he had 161,080 sons. And from those sons and daughters, he had millions of grand and great-grandchildren. And like this, the whole Kṛṣṇa's family came around 1 billion people. And that's why Dwarka was so huge. And that's just like Kṛṣṇa's family. That wasn't even the citizens. The prasadam's ready, right? So, just making sure. Okay, so I'll just continue some more. So now we'll go to Vrindavan. So now Vrindavan is a very special place. It's not like any other place in the whole universe. So in the Mahabharata, there's a description of Brahma's Brahmalok. And in Brahmalok, all the buildings, they change. They change every day. So like one day you can come in from this side, and then the next day you can come in from this side. So like all the rooms, they change, all the colors change. Everything changes in Brahmalok. And it said that even the gold, the elements, they're more pleasing. Like over here, gold just looks pretty. But in Brahmalok, gold has a fragrance. It smells pretty. And it'll protect you from disease. So like this, when you go up to the higher and higher planetary systems, everything becomes nicer and it becomes even more less. There's no anxiety and there's no every type of disease. So then when Brahma and the Devatas, they started praying to Vishnu in the churning of the milk ocean. So they go to Vishnu Lok, which is Dhruva Lok, where Vishnu is residing at the North Star. So they go to the North Star. And in that, it's even more opulent. Brahma is like, if you thought my house was, you thought my planet was amazing, you should go to Vishnu's Lok. That's even more amazing. That's like, that's just like, because to understand that Brahma was impressed, and Brahma created all this. Nothing would impress. This is like a joke to Brahma, and so Brahma was impressed. And so then Vishnu says that this is even, if you think this is something, you should talk about the spiritual world. You should talk about Haridham, you should talk about Golok Vrindavan, where Kṛṣṇa stays. So in this is a bit of a description. Kṛṣṇa, it's the trees and the plants is the most beautiful place. Everything is perfect year-round. You don't need any lights. Everything is self-illuminating. There's millions and billions of different types of fruits. Like we have about 30 different types of mangoes, 30 different types of santhras, 30 different types of. They have unlimited types of fruits. There, the fruits don't have. I think this is going into a sleeping mode. But there, the fruits. Okay, so I'll just end this. Well, the fruits don't have any skin, so you can just eat the whole fruit by itself. And like this, there's a very special pastime with Nanda Maharaj in the Brihad Bhagavatam. So the Brihad Bhagavatam talks about 2 personalities. It talks about Gopakumar and it talks about Narad Muni. So Narad Muni was trying to figure out who has the mercy of Kṛṣṇa. He wants to see who's really fortunate. So some people think that if you're born into a rich family or if you have good looks, I have an Indian body. I'm so pretty. Like this, people think then you're fortunate. But Narad Muni was trying to figure out who really is fortunate. So Narad Muni, he goes to Prayag, and he's searching Prayag, and he finds a Paka Brahmin. So this Brahmin, he's doing everything perfectly. He gets up at the Brahma Murta, he does Abhishekam, he He's worshiping, he's doing arati, he's doing everything exactly how the regulations. So then he asked this Brahmin, who has the mercy of the Lord? Oh, so and Narada Muni thinks that I think you have the mercy of the Lord. So the Brahmin says, oh no, I'm just taking care of this one deity. And I do this, when people come, I help them. If they only come to my house, I help them. If I go to the temple and I help the temple out there. But you should go see the Southern King. Now, the Southern King, he facilitates like thousands of Brahmins. He's facilitating thousands of temples. He's facilitating thousands of people, and he's giving so many fruits and alms. He is the one who's really fortunate because he can help so many people. So you should go see him. So Narada Muni says, okay, and he goes and sees the Southern King. And so the Southern King, he's talking to the Southern King, and the Southern King, he says, oh, this is interesting. You think that I'm opulent, but this is nothing. You should go see Brahma, because I'm just like the king of this one town. Brahma is like the king of all creation. He's like, or you should go see Indra. He's like the king of the whole creation. He's ruling. Indra's ruling all this. So Narada Muni goes to see Indra. And Indra says, "You think that it's something great to own all this? I'm so troubled. I have all these castles. I have all this gold. I have all this wealth. And I'm constantly attacked by all these demons. So I have to constantly protect. How many times in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Indra had to defend against demons? He was constantly in anxiety for all his possessions. So he says, I don't have the mercy of the Lord. You should go see Brahma. He created all this, and then he gave it to me. And so he has renunciation. So he's actually merciful. He actually has the mercy of the Lord. So then Narada Muni goes and sees Brahma. And then Brahma doesn't want to hear anything about this. Brahma starts talking about, you think I'm great. There was a Leela when I chased my own daughter. There was this time when Brahma he wanted to create the most beautiful entity, and then he creates his daughter. And then he starts actually chasing her around, and he tries to be intimate with her. And because of that reason, Shiva gives us that no one will worship. No one. That's why we don't see a lot of temples of Brahmaji, because it's one pastime. So Brahma says that, because of this happened, I don't really have the mercy. You should go see your brother, Shiva. He really has the mercy. So the Narada Muni goes and sees Shiva. And then when he goes to see Shiva, Shiva is worshipping Ram. So Shiva's going Ram, Ram, Ram. And he's got this Rudha Veena. It's like a special type of Veena that lays in front of him. And he's plucking it like this, Ram, Ram, Ram. And then Narada Muni comes and he says, oh, my brother, you have the mercy of the Lord. And he starts glorifying Shiva. And Shiva doesn't want to hear anything about it. He takes two fingers and he puts it in his ear. And he just goes Ram, 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 Ram. He doesn't want to hear anything. And then Narada Muni says, hey, what are you doing? I'm trying to glorify you. And then so Shiva goes Ram. He goes even louder. He doesn't want to hear any of it at all. He says, if you start glorifying me, then I'll become prideful, and I'll start having pride in my. And this is like a mad elephant in your bhakti garden. The bhakti garden is like a plant, a very delicate plant, and this pride and offenses is like a mad elephant, and it'll literally pull your faith, it'll pull your shraddha, it'll pull anything that you work to achieve. And then you'll start to wondering, why am I even doing this? Why am I coming to a temple? I should be just going enjoying. I should just be enjoying like everyone else. I should just be suffering. So like this, it destroys your plant. So Shiva says that, I don't want to hear any of this. But if you want to hear who has the mercy, he starts talking about Lakshmi Ji and how she's married to Vishnu. So he said, but then he starts talking about how there was this one pastime with, as we see on the altar of Nrsimha Dev, and we did that arti with Nrsimha Arti. So in this pastime, all the devatas couldn't approach. Nrsimha Dev was so mad when Hiranyakashipu was chastising his devotee. He was so angry that no one could approach him, not even Lakshmi Ji. So Shiva says the only person who could approach him was Prahlad Maharaj. So you should go see Prahlad Maharaj. So then Narada Muni says, okay. And then he goes to see Prahlad Maharaj. And then when he goes to see Prahlad Maharaj, he also does the same thing. I don't want to hear any of this. I'm always in so much anxiety. In Prahlad Lila, he was put into so much troubles. He was put into like a pit. He was attacked by snakes. His father tried to kill him with elephants. They tried to throw him off a cliff. So Prahlad was saying that I'm put into so many bad situations that I'm just constantly praying for Krishna. I'm just constantly praying to Krishna. So I really don't have the mercy. You should go see Hanuman, because Hanuman is actually serving Krishna. So he has the mercy of the Lord, because he's actually doing things, and I'm just praying to Krishna. I'm just like in Shanta ras. Hanuman's in Dasya ras. So Narada Muni at this time, Narada Muni was getting flustered. He went there, he went here, like, okay, where is this going to end? So but he's like, oh, Hanuman, I want to go see Hanuman. So he goes to Hanuman. And then Hanuman also doesn't want to hear it. So Hanuman's like, Ram only calls me when he has something to do. Hanuman, move this mountain. Oh, Hanuman, help me build a bridge. Oh, Hanuman, help me move this. So, he's only... So he's saying to Narada Muni, Ramachandra only tells me when he wants something to do. But you should go see the Pandavas, because Krishna hangs out with the Pandavas just like his friends. In the Mahabharata, we find out that Krishna plays with the Pandavas. He's playing ball with them. He goes to their house. He sleeps over at their house, just like your cousins come over. So you said you should go see the Pandavas. So Narada Muni's like, okay, I'll go. Okay, so let's go see the Pandavas. So now he goes to see the Pandavas. So at this time, the Pandavas also don't want to hear any of this. They're saying, okay, yeah, we play with Krishna. I put Krishna in a headlock. He puts me in a headlock. I get on his shoulders. He gets on my shoulders. We go with the cows. We pull the cows' tails. He pulls the cows' tails. He's like, that's all fine, and we're like friends. We're like sakhas of Krishna. But you should go see Yashoda Maya, because Krishna actually gets afraid of Yashoda Maya. When Yashoda Maya says, Krishna, hey, you come home now, and it's time to eat. And then Krishna doesn't listen. But then Yashoda Maya says, hey, there's a demon coming, and if you don't come, he's going to get you. Now this is hilarious, because Krishna is a demon killer. He kills so many demons. Agustasura, the snake, Vatsala demon, there's a bull demon. He's a demon killer. But yet when Mother Yashoda says something, Krishna actually gets afraid. And it's described that Krishna starts trembling, and he starts crying. And he's actually afraid. He's actually afraid. And so, Mother Yashoda says, we make Krishna dance for a laddu. We make him dance like this, and then Krishna does, and then we'll force him to dance. Oh, we caught Krishna and we tied him up. But you should go see the queens of Dwarka, because he's just like my son, but he actually married the queens of Dwarka. So they actually have like the mercy of, because Krishna's so close with them. I mean, you can understand with your wife is like your best friend. Your wife is like your parent. She takes care of you. She cleans after you. She'll cook and clean. Just like your husband and wife, they're like your best friend. They're everything's in there. So he says like this, you should go see the queens of Dwarka. So now Narada Muni goes to see Dwarka, and the same thing happens. So now the queens are saying, oh yeah, Krishna likes he likes us. He does all this stuff, but they don't want to hear any of it, and they say that the only reason that Krishna married all these people deride Krishna, and they say that why did he marry 16,108 women? And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it said that at one point it said that it was like the greatest rehabilitation for when females get abducted in the ancient time, no one would marry them. So like all these 16,108 women, they were abducted. And so no one would marry them. So like that, Krishna, he married them. He said, I will marry them. And this still happens even in, if you go to Vrindavan, you'll see all these, so many divorce, so many widows. Vrindavan's full of widows. Because Krishna still does this. He will still marry anyone who comes like this. So then they say, so the queen said the only reason that Krishna wanted to marry us is because that we remind him of the gopis of Vrindavan. So like this is the only reason why the Krishna married the queens. So you should go see the gopis of Vrindavan. And so at that time, Narada Muni goes to Vrindavan, and he meets Krishna. Krishna was he was there. He was getting worshipped by the gopis. The gopis were doing arti at the time. But he as soon as he sees Narada Muni, Krishna gets immediately ecstatic, and he runs to Narada Muni. And he starts welcoming him. And then they have Narada Muni, he invites Narada Muni into his house, and they have lunch. And during this time, Narada Muni starts recounting all this that happened. And the Krishna is laughing. He says, "Oh, this is very sweet. This is very sweet. Thank you for showing me what my devotees are doing." But the truth is that everyone actually has the mercy of Krishna. So Krishna says that anyone, it doesn't matter if you're in Shanta Ras, it doesn't matter if you're in Dasya Ras, it doesn't matter if you're in Vatsalya Ras or Madhurya Ras, you all have the mercy of Krishna. And it's actually how much you want to use it. So like this mercy, it's a gift. And if you get a gift, you actually have to use something. So like this, we're actually developing Krishna consciousness. This consciousness is a very subtle thing, but if you realize it, it's the only thing that you're interested in. Because if your husband, if your wife, if your son or your daughter, they lost their consciousness, if that body that you thought that was so attractive, that you were taking care of, if that body loses its consciousness, the body becomes useless. You don't even want to deal anything with it. You'd actually want to bury it or burn it. It's that consciousness that actually attracts everything to everyone. This consciousness is what we're developing here with when we chant, when we do this, when we listen about these different pastimes. And it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're black, white. It doesn't matter if you're initiated or if you're just a regular person. If you're a Brahmin, we're not asking anyone to shave their head. We're not asking anyone to, come here to give money. We're not asking for anything. What this whole Krishna consciousness is about is that if you remember Krishna, everything will happen. So the whole point of the Krishna consciousness is just to chant and be happy. And if you really think about it, Christ, he wasn't a Christian. Muhammad, he wasn't a Muslim. Buddha, he wasn't a Buddhist. So like this, it doesn't matter what religion you are, there's a universal dharma. And this universal dharma is Krishna consciousness. That's actually the underlying, if you understand Krishna consciousness and you understand how Krishna is the supreme source of everything and everything emanates from him, then you can understand why there's so many different religions. You can understand why there's so many different varieties. And so I think like this, we can actually keep on going, but I think I'll just end this here for now. If there's any comments or questions, or Hare Krishna, Bidhi Mataji.